When I was 9 years old in 1977, around that time, my mother gave me a magazine, a Christmas magazine, which had some pages in the hobby section that spoke about how to make simple finger puppets for the story of the Nutcracker Suite. So I sat down with that magazine and I made those 15 puppets, and my first puppet show was in fact for the family. And ever since then I stayed with the medium. Every choice I took in my life kind of brought me deeper into the medium of puppetry. People call puppetry a dying art, but I think it's a living art and it's very life affirming. I design and fabricate my own characters, and once my character structures are ready, I take them out to different groups of people so that I can interact with them. And as I interact with the different groups of people, the puppet's character actually completes itself. So one part of the character is of course the structure of the puppet, but the other part of the character is what the puppet thinks and what it does and what it says. So this is a character from a performance that I did last year at an art festival, and her name is Apsara. She's a bit of she's interested in the metaphysical world, and she has interacted with audiences all across, whether these audiences have been in villages, or whether these audiences have been in fashion bistros, or whether these audiences have been children at the back street of some slum area playing. She's met them all equally and has learned actually quite a lot from them. Let me give you an example of what she actually ends up doing, which is, I feel that there's something out there that moves us, kind of. Don't you feel that? Don't you feel that there's something that's moving you, that's making you think what you think, say what you say, and do what you do? It's out there somewhere. It's closer actually than what one thinks, but there is something. Of course, there are lots of people who say that it's stupid and I'm being ridiculous, but I do believe that there is something out there that controls all of us. In the actual puppet show, which was called The Queerest Puppet Therapy, Apsara, her name is also Tilottama Apsara, she gets into a bit of a trance, and then she has kind of a past life regressive experience where she goes into a past life, so it's like whoopla, and it's, oh, I feel so much freer now. I can move, I can jump, I can even do ballet. Eat your heart out, Anna Pavlova. So it was interesting to see how the body and the heads work, and the Queerest Puppet Therapy was in fact just about that. What happens when one loses one's head? What happens when one changes one's body? And it kind of went into those areas. In the year 2000, I had the good fortune of being invited to the Rafi Pierre Puppet Festival in Lahore in Pakistan. And I had a wonderful experience over there. We performed and we came back. And when I came back, there were very deep emotional bonds that were formed with the puppeteers in Lahore. And when I returned back to India, something happened to my brain. There was this Pandora's box of boundaries that just kind of exploded. And I couldn't do anything about it. I couldn't articulate it. I couldn't even question it. It just stayed in my head. From then on, a lot of my work became non-verbal. There was no, like you saw Apsara was talking. From the time that I came back from Lahore, it was all very non-verbal. There was music that would play, and I'd work with gestures and actions. 6 years later, in Switzerland, at a theater called the Schleck, where I was an artist in residence, I actually began to examine what had come out of that Pandora's box very carefully, and try and see it without being disturbed from inside about it. And there were some legends and some old stories that I'd heard at the Schleck, which was that there was this ghost that would walk the streets at night. It was the ghost of a butcher, and the butcher would be looking for his cow. So I designed this character, which is the ghost of the Schlachthaus, and he is again completely non-verbal. But this was my very first timid attempt at actually looking at the world of boundaries, and he looks in a very surprised way at the world of boundaries, but he looks at the first boundary, which is the boundary of life and death, and he has an expression of surprise because he has no recollection of how he died. So after that, of course, I came back, and the word boundaries kept featuring in many of the characters and the work that I did. I love cooking, so I went into the world of spices, and when I started looking at the world of spices as different characters, I began to realize that if you look at red chilies or if you look at black pepper, they're actually, as human beings, as characters, then they transcend the world of boundaries and the world of time. So I began to work a lot with stories around spices because I found that very exciting. And then after that, recently, I have designed this character. This character is for a performance that I hope to perform next year in January. He is someone who actually works along the world of boundaries, whereas his mouth opens from there. And he has a lover in Pakistan, and that's why his heart bleeds, because he can't meet him.
Were you made over here, or were you made over there? If you were made over there, then you belong there. And if you were made over here, then you belong here. But what if you were made here with stuff that comes from there? Where do you belong? Do you like this or do you like that? If you like that, then you belong there. If you like this, then you belong here. But what if you like neither that nor this? Who are you? It's strange. Are boundaries something that exist out there for you to discover? Or are boundaries something that are inflicted on the mind? It's strange. Do you like this or do you like that? If you like neither this nor that, then do you like the other? Do you like a little bit of that and a little bit of this? Or do you like something else?
So that's Creepy, and he's going to feature in a puppet show which is going to happen in January, which is based on a short story by Oscar Wilde. And again, his whole aim is to question boundaries. I've had some very interesting discussions with young people and different groups with him, and interesting things come out in terms of, I find people being able to talk about a lot of things that they wouldn't otherwise speak of. Last month, the Swiss Agency of Development and Cooperation got in touch with me and invited me to present a very interesting building that they had constructed. And this building was constructed out of materials that do not harm the environment. It's an energy efficient building. So again, another character was designed, and this is Hara. He is a kind of a green architect. He has photosynthesizing hair, as you can see, and he is able to talk to plants and understand their emotions. He stood at the entrance of the installation and actually interacted with the audiences. So this is exactly something along the lines of what he would say or do would be this. So you got to know that my name is Hara. Hara means green in Hindustani, and Hara also is an energy associated with somewhere here. I can talk to plants and I can sense them. I have a dilemma, you see, which is that a lot of plants cannot live anymore in their environment because the climate is changing. So the climate is changing and they cannot be there, so they're coming to stay with me. So now there was 1, then 2, then 3. Now there are about 20 different plants. They're coming to stay with me. So I need a bigger place. I need to construct a structure in which they can all be happily, all these plant refugees. But there is a problem. The problem is that I cannot build any structure, because any structure that is built, any construction that is made, is what is releasing the poisonous gases, that is what is actually changing the climate in the first place. So it is a dilemma. How am I supposed to accommodate all these different plants from all these different habitats? Because I cannot construct anything, because construction itself is what is making the climate change. So I am looking for people, and I am looking for ideas, and I am looking for materials. I have come across some very fascinating artists and researchers, as well as architects, and with them I'm hoping to come with some solution to this problem. But until then, I reassure my plants, I reassure myself that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and there is a solution to this big and grave problem. You see, we need to start understanding that a lot of human beings need to get out of the habit of constantly constructing all the time, because people who are constantly constructing all the time are not really sure of themselves or the future. So they make something, they break something, they make something else, they break something else, they make something else, and in the process there's a lot of poisonous gases going up in the environment, and because of all the poisonous gases, well, various things are happening, and one of them is that the climate is changing. Well, the climate is actually already changed. So we need to definitely open our eyes and be a little more aware. And I need to meet such people. So if you do such work, then please make sure that you get in touch with me. I have a big problem with my plant refugees. So that's Hara, who, in the process of making all these characters, I try and stay with what their characters stand for. For instance, Apsara, whose very past life, etc., was made out of made out of material that I just chanced upon on my way home. I saw a helmet lying on the road, etc. Similarly, Hara is made out of entirely recyclable stuff. His head is a rejected ice bucket. His eyes are kind of made from polystyrene. And this is again material that has been rejected by people after they were not very happy with their sample, so they threw it away. So I've used them. So I try and incorporate all of that in the character because it kind of brings it to life. The whole art of puppetry is about creating the illusion of life. And life is not just something that moves. Life is something that processes and thinks and kind of recreates itself also and changes. The last character I would like to share with you is a very, very plain character. She was created for a performance that happened last year, and the performance was a kind of metaphor on urban living. It's called Out of the Box, and it talks about different characters and their boxes and how they live in their different boxes and what they do in their boxes. This is the protagonist of the piece. Her name is Jharan, which means duster, and she is a boxless object. And she has a daughter too called Katran, but over here there's just Jharan. So let me just give an idea of what she thinks, feels, and does.
My name is Jordan, and I have one word advice for all of you. Please respect your dusters, because it is they who allow you to be clean and pure. Thank you.
So yes, please respect your dusters, and please look at all the objects around you and think of the potential of life. Thanks.